See if it works. Killing me, Smalls. Did we save it? I think. So we killed the stream. Robert! Oh my goodness, that was the most stressful stream drop I've had so far. Cool. Cool. Welcome back, everybody who was able to stick around. To anybody who didn't and is seeing this in the post-VOD, that's okay. I don't blame you. That was super poorly timed. Actually, it was well timed, considering it was at the very end of the squats and made me have zero excuses while I was setting up for the bench press. Oh, man. If I was a smarter guy, I would have just called that the end of the stream and then not had to bench at all. But I am not as smart. I am just a Ben. So welcome back, anybody who's able to stick around. Sorry for that. Sorry, that was not even the OBS. That was the OBS crash because the internet said nuh-uh. And I went to restart the computer and it said update and restart. So this is where we're at now. But hopefully, I'm assuming that's going to chunk the VOD up into 2 videos. So I put a part 2 so that people don't feel deceived. Goodness gracious. That's what happens, man. The age of the internet. And that's what I get for trying to think that I can be a workout streamer on a laptop instead of waiting to start all this until I could get a streaming PC. But in the future, who knows? Who knows? Maybe I'll get my big break and get rich and be able to afford better equipment someday. Woo! Welcome back, Greg. Thanks for sticking it out, everybody. Ugh. Or at least for the people who could stick it out. Dylan, how does it feel to work out live? It feels pretty normal, actually. I like it because I get to hang out and it gives me I will say, I never usually feel as... In these sessions, I never feel like any one set is as bad in terms of, like, challenging. Maybe it's lifting, feeling like you have eyes watching you. It helps me stay consistent. It helps me stay in terms of making sure that I do everything and try to hold myself to a higher standard and maintain my self-critical nature, that I can be honest with myself. And the self-critique is very important when you're wanting to get better, because it's one thing to, like, stay positive and to not berate yourself when you're not always living up to your expectations, but it's another thing to make sure that you're staying consistent with your expectations of how hard you're going to work to maintain the quality of your reps. And it's easier for me to do that with a crowd, because I would never want to... If I was showing you guys just the curated version of my lifts, which is like what my normal training videos could be, I could cut out any sets that were sketchy in terms of, like, depth on squats, or if I was pausing or locking out my bench presses. So I guess you guys force me, even without meaning to, you guys force me to maintain a higher standard, but I also take a more relaxed pace in terms of going back to the lifts. So I guess, Dylan, that's my answer. That's how it feels to work out live. It's like working out in a public setting. That's all it is. Except I'm actually talking to you guys in between sets instead of, like, people just watching silently from a distance and judging me. I'm inviting the judgment myself. Oh, really wish that didn't drop off and cut the VOD in half. It's good to hear. It keeps yourself challenged, like you mentioned. Yeah, thanks. You're welcome, sir. You're welcome. So I did manage to, while the computer was restarting, and I wonder what the updates were that it installed, because it said updates were installed. But you may notice we've got the bench press set up. So now that the squats are done, it is time for the other most fun lift, which is the bench press. So, 6x6 with 300 pounds. This, by far, of all the... I bench 4 days a week. 4 of my 4 workouts include benching in some capacity. I think that this workout is by far the most challenging of my bench press workouts, because doing a 6x6 after all of those reps of squats is, for some reason, like, my shoulders and my lats and my arms in general just get so tanked from having to hold the bar on those higher rep squat workouts or squat sets. So this is traditionally the most struggle bus I get with my benching. So I hope you guys enjoy that. You're going to be watching some more struggles. You got to enjoy the struggles with the squats. Now you get to enjoy watching the struggles with the bench. Fun, 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 fun. Oh, yeah, we're going to have fun with these. Yeah, I'm streaming still. Okay, thank you. Oh boy. Yep. Based off of how 135 felt. Oh, okay. Maybe it would have been better for me just to leave the stream dead, so you guys don't have to watch this. No, it's good. You guys get to watch this and see. This is the behind-the-scenes look. I don't need to wrap my wrists. I'm doing it out of habit. You guys are gonna share this struggle bus experience with me, because normally this weight for this rep scheme should not be that challenging, but for some reason after those squats every single week, it's just, it exposes the weakness. My body is ready to watch Ben die. Ben's body is ready to die. It's for your viewing pleasure, I guess. Oh my goodness. It's just because, like, the upper back tightness you're trying to hold for those squats, like, I'm trying to set my shelf right now to, like, stabilize the bench, and I get to the bottom and everything in here just goes like, no, we already held the bar. We already held the bar back here. We don't want to have to keep working. Why would we do that? Yo, Jermaine, back at it again. Back at it again with the live stream visits. Hello, sir. Welcome to my suffering. But we're going to suffer with a smile. Stay out of the pain cave, friends. Happy face. Joy. Never let them see you cry. Boxer Ross back at it again as well. Hello, friends. All my international buds coming in clutch to try and help me get through these bench presses. Oh, boy. Why do we do this? Because it is better to die on your feet than live on your knees, or some other epic quote explaining why one would ever commit this kind of self-brutalization that is bench pressing after high rep squats. What are you guys up to tonight? What's everybody doing? Let's hear that. Maybe that'll help me find the energy to keep doing this. You've got this, main. Well, I'm gonna do it. It's just a matter of how much suffering is going to incur. Bosh, just loyal, my dude. Can't stay long, but wanted to drop in and say g'day. Have you just started? No, my friend. We finished the squats already. We had 5 sets of 7 on squat with 485. And they went all right. They went all right. They were definitely tough. Last couple of sets were a real challenge. Now we're on to a 6x6 for bench with 300. The stream actually dropped midway through. So we finished the last set of squats, came over, and then my internet completely dropped. So it wasn't even the OBS goblin. It was just my internet, and my computer wanted to do a hard reset. So just back from training after work today. Food in bed for me. Big day tomorrow. Well, thank you for stopping in. If only for a while. I greatly appreciate it. And I hope you have some good food and then some good naps. We are proving to ourselves that a day of sickness cannot prevent the session from getting done. So, ooh. Eric is practicing Turkish get-ups. That is some fun stuff right there. Good to hear. Good to see you're at it early tonight. Early tonight. You sassy man. Yes, this workout was supposed to be done yesterday. This was yesterday's workout. That's why I normally don't squat on stream, because of how much I have to breathe in between. But because I was so sick I couldn't walk yesterday, the workouts got pushed back. So we're streaming the squat workout because I promised I would stream on Tuesday, and I'm trying to be a man of my word. And then I think we'll probably do a double stream where tomorrow we'll stream the deadlifts like normal after an upload early. It is definitely not early. It's still 1 in the morning now that we're on the bench. We started at 11 something though. That's an improvement, I guess. Dylan is at the hospital right now. Some testing going down, so I don't have a lot to do tonight. Well, I hope you have good results, sir, on your testing. That it's all positive things. Boxer Ross, starting before 12 is early for you, no? Well, sure seems that way recently. Yep. Yep. I don't need to film this. Still a warm-up set. Still a warm-up set, kids. It's still it. So, to precurse all of this work so that you guys know, the first 5 reps of each of these sets are not going to be paused. They're going to hopefully be controlled soft touches, and then the 6th rep of every set, the final rep, is supposed to be paused. So that is not, it's not going to be a matter of me being lazy in the set and rushing pauses. They're intentionally not paused to try and preserve some elbow and shoulder health with this crazy high volume stuff. But that's, just want to get that out of the way so everyone knows. Dylan, have a good day. You might tune in later. Got to go now. Have a good workout and get well soon. And thanks. Hopefully you'll be fine. Well, I hope you'll be fine too, man. I'm getting well. My illness, I got over it pretty quick, I think. Yesterday I was not able to move at all. Today I'm actually able to do the workout. We got through the squats, which I'm the most scared about because the benching, like, they might not feel good, but I don't anticipate killing myself with the bench. Boxers, have I ever thought about pausing the first and touch the last few so it's more comp specific? Yes, I have thought about that. The problem that I have with that, Boxer Ross, is that I would lose focus later in the set. And so the reason I paused the last one is to, if I'm not going to pause all of the reps, I want to make sure that I end the set with control so that I feel confident that I could have paused any one of the reps. And maybe that's just the way that I mentally want to approach it, but I want to make sure that I have the confidence and control throughout the entire set so that I can't just pause the first one, say that's my comp specific rep, and then I can just get lazy and just kind of my way through the rest of them. So that's why I do them this way. Ideally, I would pause all of them, but I just do so much bench volume now. And in the past, when I've done this kind of bench volume where I was trying to pause everything, it wears the crap out of my elbows and shoulders. And I haven't seen any negative drop-off from approaching them this way, as long as I'm maintaining my consistency and control on the last rep, because it doesn't allow me to get loose with my technical proficiency throughout the rest of the set, and it forces me to have more control even if I'm not pausing those earlier reps. So, Januaha, have ever considered strongman? I've done strongman. I competed in a strongman competition before. I managed to win my class. I was very fortunate to do that for the Washington Strongest Apple. I qualified for nationals, actually, with that contest, but my focus really is on powerlifting. Although, fun fact, and I haven't actually announced this to anybody yet except for my coaches and a couple of close friends, I recently got an email from the representative for the head coach of the LA Reign, which is a grid league team, inquiring about my interest in becoming a grid league athlete, which I thought was pretty funny. So if anybody knows what grid league is, that might be an interesting detour from my strongman focus, depending on how that all plays out in the next couple of weeks. We'll see. I thought it was pretty funny that they contacted me. Robert, you found out Jeremy Hoonstra is a firefighter who's retiring. The guy is a beast, making training work with a tough schedule. Jeremy Hoonstra is a very strong bench presser. Squat Me 15, finished your last final of college today, so I have nothing to do the rest of the week until graduation. Well, congratulations on finishing that last final. Robert, strongman Ben from the past, shirtless Ben Craigasm. I was shirtless when I did that. I used to think I was a svelte young boy wearing the non-shirt. Lee Yugi, what do you think about running different programs for different lifts, running Shaco for squats, some homemade stuff for bench, and some Greg Knuckles for deadlift? As always, when it comes to programming, I think the programming needs to fit the lifter. I think that your best bet is going to be making sure that you're setting programming that considers you as the primary focus. It needs to be structured for that lifter, or else it's never going to be as effective. So just plugging yourself into some other pre-made programming is never quite as effective for you as an individual as structuring programming around you. But if you are taking the best parts of all those programs because you feel like they will work best for you, then I see that as being an opportunity to learn and to grow from that knowledge. Gregory, isn't that some spin-off CrossFit? It is functional fitness in a race scenario. John Oha, would you be considered a strength specialist if you went for the grid league? I definitely would, because I would not be a bodyweight specialist or an all-around. I just thought it was really kind of funny because I think the only reason I'm on their radar, and I know this, is because I was made aware when they were having the first of their challenge series for this year. They did a bunch of little lifting challenges, and the Alico challenge was a conventional deadlift max triple in under 10 seconds. I did it kind of on a whim. I didn't plan for it or do anything. I actually did it on one of the very first live streams I did on Facebook, and I think I did 635 for a triple. It had to be a conventional deadlift. I did a 635 triple in 8 seconds, and then I went for 655 and it took 11 seconds. However, that time cap was the hardest part, and so I ended up winning, and it was a challenge I did that was right after, it was a week and a half, 2 weeks after the Arnold. So I came back from the Arnold, did an 800-pound deadlift for the first time, had a crazy, awesome experience challenging myself and doing that thing that I've been waiting to do for a long time. Did my 1,700-pound total in under a minute that I did specifically as a strength stunt for Instagram, and it's kind of a fun thing to see if I could do it. And then the next week, I did this max conventional triple for time that I didn't train conventional for literally months, and then did this thing. And to be eligible for the prize money, I had to register for the Grid League Combine. So I registered and ended up winning that little competition. And so they sent me this email. And I have no idea what it means. I'll email them back and see what they're looking into. But a lot of the times, those Grid League strength specialists, which, Gregory, to answer your question, it is very similar to CrossFit. You have basically two teams that are racing head-to-head over 11 different races structured in a match. And the strength specialists are people they bring in to do, like, the heavy clean and jerks and the heavy snatches. And, like, once every couple of matches, I think they do a deadlift ladder. So I would be considered an extremely niche strength specialist if I was to be ever actually doing one of those things. So I think my first question when I asked them is, are you guys sure you meant to message me? Are you familiar with what I do? I'm a very specialized strength athlete. I used to do a bunch of body weight stuff. I do not do so much anymore. I just thought it was really funny. And I was surprised when I messaged my coaches and asked them what they thought about that. I thought they were going to just giggle, but they said, "Oh, you might as well email them back, see what they have to say." All right, we'll try it. See what's up. We are Januha, thought on frequent heavy singles. I think for for less experienced athletes or lifters who have the chance to potentially see marked improvement for those in terms of like truly heavy singles, because heavy is a relative term, right? I think it would benefit lifters more when they're either a heavyweight lifter that's very experienced or a lighter weight lifter that's less experienced, because then you have a chance to gauge your progress, whereas a heavyweight lifter, they're just not able to handle as much like high repetition work volume because their relative loads are so crazy. When you're like a Ray Williams squatter, if he's doing like 5 sets of 7 or 8, his joints are gonna explode because the weight he's gonna need to use for that to be beneficial is gonna be crazy. So he does a lot of really, really heavy low rep work pretty much all the time. But for someone like my size, if I'm hitting a heavy single every single session or weekly, chances of that being beneficial, probably not that much. And I don't usually need to test my strength nearly as often as I'm trying to work on building it. So, Lee, we're going to come back to you after this first set. I need to get OBS bad. Not the OBS fault this time, I think. Did we do it? Did we manage to save it this time? Offline. That was definitely the internet again. I don't know why. I have a LAN connection, so it shouldn't be dropping like that. It must be just the internet itself. Are we back? Are you guys still with me? It cut out literally for I bet you guys didn't see the set. Trust me, I did it. It was great. Wonderful even. Oh, boy. You see a beautiful Ben. I laid down. I finished the last rep, and I heard... I'm like, oh, no. Computer, don't do this to me. Why you play these games? We back, fam. Yes. OBS bad. Yep. Oh. Oof. Lee, here's your question that I was going to answer before I went over and tried to squish myself with a barbell. Can you dunk a basketball? I haven't tried in a very long time. In the past, I was able to at least jump up and touch the rim, but I never had a basketball in my hand when I was doing it. I've seen some box jumps from you. Older videos seems like you got hops from heavy squats. Heavy squats and then from hip mobility. I think the thing about box squats is it's less about how high you can jump and more about how high you can lift your legs to your chest. I think I got to the point where I could use a weight vest and had like I want to say 48 inch. That sounds high, doesn't it? 48 inches onto a box. Yeah, I think that's probably pretty close. I'll have to look back at those. I haven't done jumping in a long time just because it is not, the jump itself isn't that bad, but turning around and jumping off the box was really hard on my joints as I started getting heavier and heavier. What was it? 2. Oh my goodness. What a day. Jonah, how would I rank my experience at the Arnold for someone looking to qualify at this Nationals? It was a great time. It was a great experience. The event is really awesome. And it's really fun. If you have the chance to go, I recommend it. Even if you're not competing, I think it's an awesome time to be able to visit and experience a whole bunch of other like-minded individuals and see a different... just seeing so many people who are interested in strength and fitness in one place is a pretty cool experience. Scott Dean, hey Ben, 48, not too high, but still good main. I don't remember what it was at all. I will have to check that. I know that it was at least like my shoulder to my chin height. So let me see. I need to. Now I'm all concerned. Maybe it was 52. 58 inches? I don't know. I'm not going to guess. I'm going to make myself sound like a dum-dum if I keep guessing. Billy, you did an 800-pound deadlift. Haven't followed you in a year due to being busy with school. Yes, sir. Yes, sir, I did. Was a pretty crazy day. Actually, I will click a couple buttons, and hopefully this doesn't drop the stream. That would be hilarious, wouldn't it? I'm watching you guys, making sure you're staying with me here. Whoa, don't make it mad. Do not make it mad, Ben. Do not do it.
I want a guy?
Ah! I still haven't installed an ad blocker on my computer. Boom. All right. There you go, Billy. I just linked the video of the 800-pound deadlift. It's now actually the outro video for most of my other stuff. I switched out the 750 dead from that meet that I did. John Noel, what coaches would I recommend for a powerlifter also focused on only strongman and bodybuilding? That I would say not also focused on. I would say for a general weightlifter then, because it's really... You can be focused on one thing. You can be mostly focused on two things. Being focused on 4 things is really hard to come by just because of the kinds of different methodologies you're going to have to employ. I honestly do not have a good suggestion for someone who I would be able to recommend for all of those things at the same time, because I feel like I would be... most of the coaches that I know have certain specializations, and being able to recommend somebody who would be, you compete in all 4, I would say is a general strength athlete then. In terms of having a qualified coach, you might have to go at it like a mixed martial artist would have to go, where you have specific coaches for different. I mean, to have someone program for all of those things sounds like it'd probably be a lot easier, but to have someone who's qualified to coach you in all 4 of those things, you might need to look for more in-person type things. I think it'd be very difficult for someone to coach Olympic lifting over the internet because it's so technical that you would need almost technical changes and adjustments in every single training session. Powerlifting is a little bit, you can take the whole of a session, send video, and get feedback that can be beneficial and helpful. Strongman, I've had some of the best strongmen in the world coach me when I'm doing strongman stuff, and so I might be a little bit biased in how I've come about some of the things that I've learned on that. But, yeah. I just ethically, I can't give a suggestion of someone who I would think. Actually, the only person I know who I would feel good about, I don't even know if he's coaching. I don't even know if he's coaching right now, but he's a good friend of mine, and he's the only person that I know who has competed at a international level with strongman, is very adept at the Olympic lifts, has dabbled enough in powerlifting to have some good solid numbers and a very solid understanding of the lifts. And bodybuilding is the easy part because it's not a performance-based sport. It's a it's a stimulation to work on specific musculature. But Zach McCarley is the only person who I could recommend if someone was coming for that kind of focus, saying, I want to compete in all 4 of these. Who do you know who would be good at coaching that? I would say Zach McCarley. So look him up. And yeah, he's the person I would go to. If he's still, I don't know if he's still coaching right now. Scott Dean, only in stream. What's in the cards for tonight's workout, Ben? Tonight, we already squatted. This is the second stream. This is the second half of it because the stream dropped exactly after I did my squats. I had 5 sets of 7 for squat with 485. They went all right. Normally, this would be a conventional deadlift and bench press workout, but I had to push all my workouts back a day since I was so sick I couldn't move yesterday. So the first half of this stream, which should be up on the channel in a VOD, was those squats, and they went all right. Now we're on a 6x6 for bench pressing with 300 pounds. So shouldn't be too crazy, but usually this is the toughest bench workout I have of the week out of my 4, just because of how much those higher rep squats tend to beat up my shoulders, just trying to keep everything stable when I'm squatting. So we'll see. Genoa, it's ZACKMC capital CARLEY. He also used to go by Zach Nims. He changed his name. So I would look into him. Lee, as soon as I wrap my wrist, you ask the question. I don't want to keep having to say that you're the person I always need to come back and answer your question, because what if the stream drops again, right? Okay. Your take on giving advice to people who haven't made any progress in years in the gym and have lots of technical issues. Have you ever given someone unsolicited advice in the gym? Unsolicited is the key word there. If you have a connection to them, if they're open to it, it really depends. My advice would be to approach them and ask them if they'd be interested in, if you have an idea, say, hey, I don't know if you know, but I found some positive progress with such and such an idea if you're interested. And if they aren't into the idea of you giving advice, then just let them do their thing. We can't try to save everybody, especially if they're not open to the idea of it. But if you have some sort of relationship developed with them where you can approach them, and make sure that your intentions are always to try and help them, not to make yourself feel better. Do you want to say what you want to say because you want to be right, or do you want to say what you want to say because you genuinely want them to be better and benefit from your advice? That approach, I think, has a lot to do. It affects the tone in a positive way. So that's the way I would go. I'm gonna do this next set and then I'll hit back. Squat me 15. You're the next individual. Question. Like that. Not one bit. Oh, goodness. Squat me 15. Powerlifting coach for intermediate. Want to compete in the future. Biasly, I would say myself. My usual go-tos. People like The Strength Athlete, TSA, Hanny, Eric, Bryce, Chris, or Joe, Izzy Narvaez. I always forget how to say his name, and I consider him a friend. I just never know how to say it. And then just down the line with other people that are in that. Eric Helms, although he's probably really busy. Alberto Nunez. Any of the 3DMJ guys are qualified. Bryce. Oh, I already said Bryce. Garrett Blevins. Or jumping into the programming of myself, Garrett Blevins, and Brandon Campbell, the BCR guided programming. A little less specific, but probably the most affordable programming and kind of lower interaction coaching service that you can find. So that's a list of my of my advice. So hopefully that helps and isn't too biased towards the... I can only recommend people that I know enough about with my own experience that they're the ones who come straight to mind. There are many... The industry is very saturated. There are many people offering programming right now. So, and coaching, which I think are two different things. Programming and coaching. Programming will get you on track. Coaching is what most people will benefit the most from, if you have a good coach. Billy, Unreal Man, super impressive. What was your PR before that? Well, I hadn't pulled on a deadlift bar, Billy, in 2 years. So the week before the Arnold, I pulled 760 on a deadlift bar. At the Arnold, I pulled 750 in a 3-lift meet, raw, and then 2 days later had 777 and 780 something. Both take turns ripping my hand apart, and so I missed out on that, and then came back the next week. Tied my all-time deadlift PR of 765 on the deadlift bar, and then the next set was that 800, which was probably the longest pull I've ever done in my life. So it was a long time coming. It was definitely a long time coming. Janua, thoughts on the efficacy of using slingshots to overload bench, and also thoughts on sinking into your chest or flat foot head down USAPL lifters. I tend to sink into my chest with my head down and feet flat. I think if you don't need to do that, then it's beneficial to not. Because you open yourself up to the tendency of having the judges look at you in kind of a way that it's not the prettiest way to bench. It doesn't exercise the most visual control, and we kind of get hated on. My fellow sink benchers, almost heave benchers. I'll call it what it looks like. We're heave benchers. So if you can avoid it, then I'd say it's better to have a more controlled press. But you kind of have to work with whatever you have that gives you the best result when you're competing, and then try to train to always improve that. So this is a bad example for me, this particular workout, because it really turns into survival mode when I've got this. Later in the week, like tomorrow's benching, is a 4x4 regular press, then Spoto press to really focus on control, and then usually it'd be Thursday's workout. This week it'll be Friday's workout because everything got pushed back a day. Will be a t-shirt bench where I'm not allowed to sink into my chest even when I'm doing my last rep paused. So even though I tend to sink, and even though on this session where I'm just trying to survive, there's more sinking than you would normally want to see, it's something that I'm trying to become less dependent on. I hope that helps. And slingshot for overload bench. I've used it in the past. My coaches don't program it for me, so I don't use it now. I was honestly surprised when I used it the first few times, because I thought it would be like benching in a shirt and would totally change the groove of the bench. But the way I describe it is that it feels like your normal raw bench pressing pattern, but with stronger pecs. And I think that has more benefit than I gave it credit for before I tried it. So I think you could find some benefit of doing it. If nothing else, just working on greasing that groove of what the ideal bench movement pattern should be, if you just have strong enough pecs to maintain it. Sorry, I've just got to make sure my timer is going so I'm not... I've got the Undertale soundtrack stuck in my head, so I don't know why. I know why. I watched a couple of Undertale videos today while I was getting ready for this workout. Real hyped up lifting type stuff. What are your thoughts on bench press grip width for raw not equipped? How much have you experimented? V1XO. I used to compete when I initially had my shoulder injury. I competed like this with this kind of a close grip bench for years, and have moved out to a max legal grip width and everything in between. So my thoughts are, you have to train, you have to find what your ideal is, and then you have to work around it, because the bench press really benefits from just building up overall upper body hypertrophy, getting more mass. You will very rarely see someone who is a very good bench presser who doesn't look like they lift. You can find a squatter who looks like they, maybe you can tell they lift when they're wearing shorts, or if they're, if you're watching them lift. With a deadlifter, you might surprise yourself. There's some real skinny, squirrely guys that can deadlift crazy amounts of weight, but you're not going to see that too much with a bench presser. Usually you need mass up here, which is one of the reasons I'm not an amazing bench presser. I've got a lot more mass to build up there. So I think moving around with different grip widths is more beneficial with the bench press, even more so than the squat or the deadlift. In my experience. That's anecdotal. That's not like scientifically backed. Lee, if you ever had to leave out squat or deadlift for the rest of your life, what would it be? Squats, because deadlift, I would rather do all of them. I would rather do all of them because that's the sport I chose. But the worst a deadlift ever feels is you're picking it up and you don't have it that day, so you let go. The worst a squat ever feels is you're going down and you don't want to stand back up, and now you've got a bar on your back and the whole world turns sad. So that's my reasoning for that. Robert, you got into Undertale, eh? And Kanto, Undertale soundtrack is so good. I got into the soundtrack. I got into other people talking about it. I never played the game myself. At first, I thought it was incredibly long. Apparently, it's only a 6-hour-long game if you played it start to finish. I do that, though. I get really into, like, people's breakdowns of certain things. Like, I never played the Far Cry series, but I watched a 5-hour special that Joseph Anderson did on his YouTube channel, breaking down all of the Far Cry videos and discussing just the storyline behind them and the game design. I get really nerdy when it comes to things like game design. I don't know why. I don't know what the draw is to that. I'm just really have always been attracted to that kind of in-depth thing, even with games or with movies or with things that I haven't actually experienced firsthand myself. I'm more interested in the process and the artistry that comes behind designing those things and making them. I'm a weirdo, I know. And yes, Kanto, the Undertale soundtrack is so good. I found a guy who did a cappella covers of a lot of the songs, and I thought it was pretty fun. Are we 2 sets in? 2 sets into the bench press? Man, I'm doing a better job of stalling on these than I was doing on the squats. Maybe that's what I need to do. I need to set myself up a timer for these sets too, because I don't need as much time as I take on the bench press. Divier looking good in the dad hat. Is this a dad hat? This used to be black. You see that color up there? See how it's not that color anymore? This is my hair gets poofy when I exercise and it's warm hat. Lee, I should live stream some singing. Maybe I'll bring the computer next time my a cappella group has a rehearsal and you guys can see that. The dad hat. All right, I see you, fam. I see you throwing shade at my style. It's funny because I know my dad actually watches these streams afterwards, and he doesn't wear hats like this. Squat me heading to bed. Good night, sir. Thanks for hanging out for a little bit. Appreciate it, and thanks for the questions. Janua, pointers on thickening midsection for powerlifters, looking for that power belly look. Ab wheel rollouts, hanging leg raises. It's always my core work. Do some beltless work on your squats and your deadlifts, and you will get the power belly. Divier, it needs a little more curve to be the strong dad hat. I hate flat build hats. I don't like them. I don't like to wear them, and when I see other people wear them, I judge them silently. No, some people look good. I think I look horrible with a flat build hat. I don't know if I look good with a curved bill hat, but that's just what I am. You know, you're kind of stuck with what you got, right? All right, another set. Another set. Oh. Working through it. Baby steps. Baby steps. Man. Chris Collins, I haven't seen Guardians 2. I haven't been to the movie theater in like probably a year. And my time has just been so not available for anything like that at the moment. Have you seen it? Is it good? Do you like it? I was pleasantly surprised with the first one. I wasn't sure what I was going to think and wondering if it got overhyped. Because the first time I saw The Avengers wasn't until it came out on DVD. And I was underwhelmed because of how hyped it was. I think if I would have seen it before anybody told me about it, I would have enjoyed it a lot more. But Guardians of the Galaxy, I think I enjoyed the humor in it and was pleasantly surprised. Liugi, it is not just you. I definitely have very long femurs, and that is one of the reasons why I squat with so much forward lean. To keep the bar over the center of my foot, my hips have to go back a long way. Genoa, should overhead press be a part of a good bench routine? I do not think it's absolutely necessary, though I am very biased because I am very injury prone when implementing the overhead press. I've never run it for a significant amount of time without hurting myself. And I don't blame the movement as much as maybe my bad mechanics and my bad technique and my impatience with the loading of it. I do program it for a lot of my lifters, because if you can do it without hurting yourself, it can be very beneficial for building that upper body mass. But I don't think it's absolutely necessary, or else I would do it anyway. So, Divier, if a person has been doing a really high volume training, would you also advise them to also go through low volume training and higher intensities too for a while if they're not peaking for a comp? It depends on what your intention is. Right? Anytime you make a programming decision, you need to make sure that it's defensible. Why are you doing it? That's the biggest question. What's your why? And the how is always determined from the why. How you go about something needs to be based on why you're doing it. If you don't have a good reason, you're just doing it because it seems like the right thing to do, maybe you need to think a little more critically as to why it's happening. So the one reason you could say is that if they're not getting enough work in a specific range, if they're doing so much high volume work that they're never able to handle any heavy weights, so that when they get ready for a competition, the shock to their system doesn't allow them to be able to adapt to those heavy weights soon enough to peak adequately for the meet, I could see that being a justification. But again, you always need to make sure that it passes the why am I doing this test, where you need to have a good reason, or else maybe a change for the sake of change is not always advisable. So that's one of the most unfortunate pieces of advice I think that gets really, it kind of runs rampant through this industry, is just changing things up when it gets stale, but without thoughts as to what you're changing or why you're changing it. So, Genoa, thoughts on powerlifters with leg length discrepancy and effects on hip and spine after years of heavy loading with uneven weight distribution. Focus on maybe getting insoles or finding ways to adjust stances to allow that to not be as much of an issue. But anytime you're loading the spine or the hips in an uneven way, it's going to have some kind of effect. I had a big spinal issue when I was in maybe 2011, 2012, because one of my arches in my feet was a little bit lower, and so my pelvis was slightly offset, and I had a hyperlordotic lower spine, so my spine was overarched all the time and was offset to one side, so it was putting a lot of pressure on this little facet joint in there, and that took me away from squatting for about 3 or 4 months. In terms of squatting with making progress, I was still trying to squat, but it hurt like crazy every single time, and I wasn't able to get anywhere. So you may have to, not everyone comes to the table with the same kind of luck, and sometimes you have to make the most of your situation. And if this is something that's important to you and it's something you want to continue to progress at, you may have to work a little bit harder to find workarounds and solutions to particular problems that you may have. I have long arms and long femurs. It means my squat form has to be a little bit different than a lot of people. It means my bench is going to take a lot more effort to continue to grow than some people. I have a bad shoulder from when I tore it in wrestling in high school. I have to work around that. It doesn't mean that everyone else is going to slow down and adjust, what they're doing because of me. And it doesn't mean that I can't also be successful in pursuing my own strength journey with these other things. I just have to do it a little differently than someone else might. So I hope that helps. In terms of how to exactly to go about it, I don't have a solid answer other than maybe look into some different insoles or look into something to try and change that imbalance at the foot level so that it's not having as much of a drastic effect. Maybe some correction work at like a chiropractor or a PT. Depends on how willing you are to go to those lengths. So, Joseph, good morning from Maryland. Good morning. Maryland, what time is it for you guys on a 4-hour shift? 4-hour time difference from Washington, maybe? Maybe it's around 6 a.m. for you. While I'm trying to get finished up near 2 a.m. One of these days, man. One of these days, I'm going to have a workout that isn't starting at like 10 or 11 p.m. Someday. Oh, see? Good thing I'm setting my timer for the bench. Because I'm definitely ready for another set, but I wasn't thinking about it. We learning, boys and or ladies, if anybody from the female persuasion is also watching. Scott, have to go do a top double of pause squats. Catch you later, Ben. Have a good day, night. You as well. Good luck with your top double. Goodness, I've got my pause squats on Friday. So I think we're shifting from a top set of 4 and 3 sets of 6 on that, though, to a top triple at an RPE set and 3 sets of 5. That'll be fun. 451. You must have a morning job, Joseph. I feel you on that. That used to be, I used to do that. I used to have 5 or 6 a.m. shifts. Now I just stay up until those times a lot of the time. Come on. Come on. Oh, yeah. Oh, boy. Oh, but here we go. All right, getting through it. Oh man, they're definitely not, this is not a pretty bench night, but it is, we're getting the work in. Them dance moves, you know it, Robert. It's that Undertale, what's it called? I think, Spear of Destiny or something. Spear of Destiny song. Janhua. I hope I'm saying your name not completely incorrect every single time. Pointers for intermediate lifters looking to make significant progress. Make your approach one that is focused on the long term. I think I say it just about every stream, and I think it's really important still. Long-term consistency trumps short-term intensity every single time. No matter what your lifting level is, if you're committed to the long game, you're going to make it further than if you fly too close to the sun trying to push yourself so crazy hard. Right. Jeonaha. I will probably say that wrong still, but at least you know that I care. Yeah, that's my advice for any level of lifter, is commit to the long game. If you actually want to get better and you actually want to make it to the long run. There are many lifters that I have seen come and go who, one of the scariest things to ever have said about you is that you've got potential, because it means that you're showing some signs where you could have a future in the sport, but so many people hear that and think it means they need to step up their game and do more now. And usually those lifters will only go a couple years before they run themselves into the ground trying to push and trying to fly too close to the sun. Not to say you can't push yourself, because it's necessary to push yourself, but you also need to make sure that you're approaching it in the context of saying, like, the best progress I'm going to make is going to come over years and years, not over months and months or weeks and weeks. So for any level. Jesu Gun 00, hi there from France. How are you? Working around your shoulder bothering you? Higher volume, lower intensity? That, most of the time, my shoulder issue really just shows up when I'm lazy. If I have more control in my sets, because the problem is I popped something in here. Maybe rotator cuff, maybe something, but it was in 2007, 2006, 2007. And so I just have to make sure that I'm always keeping this in, and then when I press, it defaults. It tries to, if I'm not intentionally keeping this shoulder from collapsing in, it defaults to this position and tries to protect itself and loads the shoulder even more. So it's not that the shoulder hurts, it's just that I have this kind of subconscious movement error that occurs, and I have to be very careful and very intentional about not allowing that to become really extreme in the context of a higher set. So usually it's about staying focused, staying engaged in the set itself, not getting lazy, and not relaxing through any point of the lift. I have to stay engaged and hold tension on that the entire time. Fabian, hey Ben, would love to hang out, but unfortunately need to get work done. Yeah, I understand that, man. Wanted to quickly stop and say, hey, leave you some strength in here for your high volume workout. Best wishes. Thank you, Fabian. Appreciate it greatly. Robert, them dance moves. Okay, I'm going to see how you said to say it again. Jionaha. Also, how often is too often to compete in your opinion for intermediates? When you are doing competitions and not feeling like you've had a chance to progress and see any improvement. That's how often is too often. Because a competition is a testing environment. It is also a learning experience. You can get a lot of good training effect. You can practice. I think what some people forget is that you can go to a competition with the intention to be learning more about the competition, not necessarily to set all new PRs. You can practice getting better as a competitor. You don't always have to peak for every single meet. If I end up doing a meet between now and nationals, the intention will not be to give my absolute best performance at that meet. It'll be to give the best performance that I can on the day, but we're probably not going to peak me and taper everything in to have that meet be the biggest focus. The biggest focus would be nationals. So a lot of times it's about focus management and about what your intention is to learn from that meet. So if you're trying to peak 100% for a bunch of meets throughout a year, that may not be the best idea, and you may be competing way too much. But if you have the disposable income to travel and do meets, it can be a good chance for you to learn more, to get practice in a competition setting, to be more comfortable in those settings, which can be beneficial later down the road. Excuse me. And it wouldn't be as big of a deal to do multiple competitions. You see that a lot with Olympic weightlifting, where they will just kind of train through a meet and do a bunch of things and then only really get themselves super prepped for the one or two big competitions they have in a year. So that's a very an Eastern Bloc lifters tend to do that a lot more too, not so much the Western lifters. Kanto, benching always seems easier for me than squatting, even though I do it once per week. I squat 3 times per week. I don't know what it is. What do you think? Depends. Maybe you could have you can have a more ideal build for the bench press. The fact that you're getting extra rest, if you're only doing it once per week, maybe you're not feeling as beat up going into it. Most of tomorrow's bench press, I'm 99% sure will feel better than this one does. Because for some reason, my second workout of the week, even though I'm benching the day after doing a 6x6, doing a 4x4, and then a triple, then 3 sets of 5 on the Spoto press, tends to feel better than doing this workout after the high rep squats, just because my shoulders and my back get all worn out from the squats first. So it could be if you have shorter arms, it could be if you just enjoy benching or you have more upper body musculature, or the fact that you're not wearing yourself up quite as much with high frequency on the bench. Who knows? Could be a lot of things. Lee asked, do you have max out when doing Shako, or do you just increase weights after running 1 to 2 prep cycles? I haven't run Shako in years and years. I think in the past I would tend to just increase my training maxes by like 10 pounds 10 or 15 pounds after I would just assume if they got stronger. And I also did some pretty dumb stuff when I was running Shaco in the past. Like every 2 weeks, I would increase my training maxes by 5 pounds, which I wouldn't recommend. That was young and dumb Ben, who was a little too hyphy at times. So I would say, ideally in those kind of situations, some sort of retest every 6 to 8 weeks is totally acceptable for maybe an intermediate level lifter. And so maybe look into that kind of a thing to retest to get an honest idea of where your training maxes should be. Since that's probably what you should be basing all of your other work on. And I'm saying I bench 4 days a week. So again, my weekly split is off now since I was sick all day yesterday and couldn't walk. So this workout would normally be Monday, and it's a 6x6 on bench. Tuesday's workout is normally a 4x4, then a triple Spoto press, then 3 sets of 5 Spoto press. Thursday's workout is normally a 5x5 on t-shirt press with a single, a submax single, and then Saturday is usually 7 triples and a submax single. So that's I bench 4 days a week, and those are the usual volume ranges, at least for this training block. Matthew, which is your favorite Star Wars movie? Love your tips. Ooh. Probably Empire. Either Empire or Return of the Jedi. I was really into... I don't even want to say it. I really liked The Phantom Menace, but that came out when I was young enough where I didn't notice how maybe potentially flawed that movie was. I really enjoyed that movie as a kid. I watched it probably every day on VHS. So I didn't know enough about movies to recognize maybe how underwhelming that tended to be for people who were fans of the series. Lee, you don't seem like the type to do it who would do it, but have you ever ego lifted? When I was younger, I did a lot of that, I'm sure. And there are times when I definitely still have done it. The week after the Arnold, that 800-pound deadlift was definitely not planned. I mean, I planned it a couple weeks before. I asked my coaches if they would mind if I went for it. I was supposed to try that in a suit just to get it off my bucket list, and ended up feeling good enough that I didn't put the suit on. I guess you could classify that as an ego lift. There wasn't a whole lot of training value in doing that. And then the 1,700-pound total I did in the rec center 2 days later in like under a minute, where I squatted 615, benched 365, and deadlifted 720 unintentionally beltless. That was technically an ego lift. There was no training reason for that. It was just a lifting stunt to see if I could do it. In the past, I used to test myself a lot more. I think that's what ego lifting really is it's focusing more on testing than it is on building in a period of time where testing isn't supposed to be the focus. But I think we're all drawn to that. We're all drawn to express our strength that we've worked so hard to try and build. It just comes down to prioritizing your time and understanding when is the right time to do something. So, all right, another... Where are we at? We're at set number 5. Oh, okay. These aren't... I mean, they don't feel amazing by any stretch of the imagination, but they're moving along. Oh, man. Getting them in. Getting them done. Timer. Okay. Robert, everyone tells me now that Phantom Menace isn't as good as I thought it was, so now the more I refuse to ever watch it again to possibly ruin it. Honestly, I think the biggest issue people had was when they brought up midichlorians and everyone's idea of what the Force was got all messed up. And people, for some reason, really, really hated Jar Jar. I thought that the character wasn't amazing, but I didn't care when I was a kid watching it. So, don't let it ruin you, man. If you enjoy something and people tell you you shouldn't, you can still enjoy it. I hope I didn't add to you feeling guilty about enjoying that movie, and if you could still enjoy it. I remember, though, I really enjoyed the cartoon for some reason, Sherlock Holmes in the 22nd Century. That was a show that I watched where I didn't think it was nearly as bad. Then I came back and watched it and was like, oh, okay, this was pretty terrible. So that would be an example. And then my friend and roommate Will and I, when they first put the original Pokemon series back on Netflix, we started watching that again. And I kind of decided I wanted to maintain my childhood youthful ignorance about how much I enjoyed that show. So I couldn't really watch it because it got a little bit cringy. But yeah. Oh man. I miss the days when we were kids and we can just let things go. We could just enjoy them for what they were and not have our standards set so high. But that's what it is. Lee, how can that brick house body of yours fit that small bench? She's your brick house. It doesn't fit very well. So make sure to like and share my videos so potentially I can try and afford a better bench. This one's pretty awful. It's definitely not great. Loud nerd. Definitely a nerd. I'm not ashamed. Matthew, which is your heaviest weight you've been forced to roll on your stomach? In terms of like when I had to bail on a bench, it doesn't happen very often. I very rarely miss weights in training. I think the last one I missed was probably a 380 or 385 a few training blocks ago. Wasn't smart. Shouldn't have taken the weight. Didn't need to take the weight. Got halfway up and I was so out of position I felt my butt lift. So I'm like, I don't even want to waste the energy and potentially hurt myself. So I dropped it to my stomach and was able to roll out. That might have been a year ago though. So it's been a long time since I've missed a bench weight in training. Robert, oh god, I rewatched some of Yu-Gi-Oh! When it came back out and I was the cringe over 9,000. No! Trust the heart of the cards, Yugi.
It's time to duel!
I loved that show way too much. I couldn't watch anything after the I liked the Duelist Island arc, and then I liked the one where it was the Battle City. But I don't think I ever finished Battle City. Yeah. But I think I played the game throughout. I couldn't stand. Make Ben's bench great again. If you guys see the super chat function. No, I'm just kidding. That's I get by on this thing. It's not great, but it works, and it's definitely at the top of the list of the things that can be updated. That and buying one more pair of 45, so I don't have to always, because I can only load 585 in 45s, and then I have to go to the 35s, and it makes all my deadlift weights look real janky. But it'll come. Robert, let's all buy Ben a fat pad bench. Legit could nap on that. My buddy Jeff has a fat pad, and it's straight up cheater status every time. I could put 20 more pounds on any bench set that I do and have it be easier on a fat pad bench. So I don't want one of those. It makes everything. It would be so. I'd rather bench on this crappy thing and go to a meet and be like, oh, this feels great, instead of like benching on something like that where it's super cheatsy doodles, and then go to a meet and be like, oh, okay, this feels way worse. Divier, did you watch the old Beyblade? I did not. I don't think it was never on a channel that I had as a kid. Was that a Cartoon Network? No, I don't know. I had access. Pokemon was like the only show that I could watch at the time, and then when Yu-Gi-Oh came out, I think we had a channel where I could watch that. I think somewhere there is a VHS collection of like 30 VHS tapes where I had every single episode of the original Pokemon series on VHS. I would record it every single day, and like I would come home after school and I would record, and I would stop the recordings on the commercials so that there's no commercials on it. I have all those somewhere. Kanto, Yu-Gi-Oh towards the end went downhill. I think I got out I think I got out before that happened. I think I made it out and I didn't see it have its glorious downfall. The thing about Pokemon, it's been on for like 15 years or something, and Ash Ketchum is still like 10 years old. The heck is that? They didn't allow him to age at all. Every single time he goes to a new region, he like resets. So it's you grow out of Pokemon after your original thing, after your original run with a season. And I think that's one of the things. The show didn't grow up with its audience. It's like the opposite of Harry Potter, where if you started with the Harry Potter series as a kid, you grow up with those characters. The characters in Pokemon stay the same age. It's freaky when you think about it. And I got more into like researching Pokemon when I got into Pokemon Go when it started coming out, because I'm still a Pokemon master. Holla. Lee, can you bench more than Johnny Bravo? I'm pretty sure that the only limitations Johnny have are what the artist decided to put on his barbell, so probably not. Robert Pham, I'm nerding out. I'm not ashamed of this, man. This was my childhood. Embrace your nerdiness. Anytime that you enjoy something and someone else makes you feel bad for enjoying that, forget that person. You do not need that person in your life if they make you feel bad for genuinely enjoying something. Real talk. Divier, dang, Pokemon is so good. I love that cringe. Feels good. Guilty pleasure. I'm not mad at it. I am not mad at it. My girlfriend and I, Jess and I went to Seattle on Sunday right before I got sick. I probably ate something in Seattle that made me sick, to be completely honest. But if you guys are not following my Instagram, why not? I'm just kidding. Took a super awesome picture of that's the Seattle waterscape, and that's my beautiful girlfriend there in the corner. We went to Seattle specifically to play Pokemon Go. I picked her up from work. She works at a Starbucks in Seattle, and we went down to the harbor area, and we caught some Pokemon for a few hours. I'm not mad at it, though. Divier, my favorite Pokemon, Snorlax, 100%. When I was a kid, I had a collection of Snorlax memorabilia. Number 143, OG best Pokemon. 1,013 pounds. The best. Robert, my friend's nephew is 5 and is excited for Ash to become a Pokemon master. My friend wrestles with himself on whether he just lets his nephew find out Ash never will or tell him now. I think this next season is going to be the one, man. I think he's going to... That's when the series ends, right? Because Ash always gets to, he gets close to becoming a Pokemon master and then doesn't get it because they need the series to go on. If he ever wins the finals of a region, that's it. He's going to be done. So maybe this next one, because I think I heard in this recent series arc, he's got kind of a girlfriend that's really they're pursuing the relationship thing, and maybe he's going to grow up. Maybe he's going to win and be able to be a grown-up in his life. Who knows? Kanto rival. By the way, we have someone whose last name in this chat is Yugi and someone else whose first name is Kanto, and I don't know if those are references to Pokemon or to Yu-Gi-Oh! In general, but this is kind of an awesome direction I think that the talk has gone in. So I'm not mad at it at all. Well, Pokemon main writer died. That's why Pokemon after someone in Johto or Hoenn was bad. Well, it was not as funny anymore. Dang. Fair enough. Fair enough. I think they just found out they were making money, and the original series wasn't supposed to run for 15 seasons. I think that's what really happened, is that the Attack on Titan wasn't supposed to get as popular as it was. But when they get popular, then everyone pushes let's keep this going, and so they have to find ways to keep the story interesting, and so Ash kind of has a reset every single region, right? He goes from being really super powerful, Pikachu is the most up and down power leveled Pokemon ever, where he'll get super super strong by the end of it, and he's battling freaking third evolutions in some Pokemon League match, and then at the end of the next season he's losing to a starter area Pokemon, from level 100 down to level 5. What are you even doing, Pikachu? You silly little electric mouse. And with that, we've lost half the chat that doesn't understand nerdiness and how it applies to my life. It's okay. Billy, you have a link where you can donate to the stream? Actually, we do. It's the super chat function. It's always appreciated but never expected, so no one ever has to do that. It's just there if someone's interested in donating to the stream. But I try not to even advertise it, because if it's something where someone's looking for it actively, I think they'd find it. It's the little $ next to the chat function, so it'd be kind of hard to miss. But I see more like the Doduo type. Oh, you trying to get in fights, fam? Get out of here, Yugi, with your throwing shade at the skinny two-headed bird. Divya, I did not watch Naruto because I didn't have access to being able to watch it until it was already like 800 episodes, and I'm not trying to start an 800 episode shonen when I know that that style of anime has at least like a 2-season buy-in before it gets anywhere interesting. Not trying to hate on it. It's just a thing. Scythy, with one whiff of this weed, we're bound to succeed. Brock, best Pokemon quote. When did Brock say that? I feel like I missed something. I was watching that extremely high, so that might have over-exaggerated how funny it was. That's hilarious, but I don't think... I feel like that wasn't something that happened. Did you just imagine that? There's no way that's in the first season. With one whiff of the seed, we're bound to... Goodness gracious. Ah! Killing me. I almost don't want to do this last set, because then it means the stream is only... Yes, Lee, I have watched One Punch Man. I thoroughly enjoy the way it kind of is like the anti-shonen, where it's the overpowered main character as opposed to having to build up to fight some overpowered villain. It's just a show to see how long it takes for Saitama to get there. He definitely said it. I don't understand how it isn't a meme. It definitely should be a meme, especially with the way he's animated. Kanto, well, Naruto is good, but yeah, a lot of fillers. The best thing about that show is motivating you to improve yourself. Yeah, see, I'm not opposed to it. It's just the buy-in of like 900 episodes. That's so much to like get into, and I'm scared that if I did like it, that I'd try to get caught up on everything, and I do not have the time for it, honestly. So, and I'm saying, do I still watch anime? When I have time, I like to try and keep up with some of those things. I'm not nearly as involved in the scene in terms of... Like, and that's not me trying to say, like, I'm not a nerd, I watch a little bit. But I've watched a few of the more popular, shorter run series. I've watched some of the less popular, shorter run series. But, yeah, I like it. I like the style of storytelling. I think it's interesting. It's different than a lot of the other stuff I watched. I didn't have a whole lot of access to it when I was younger. We didn't have a whole lot of different TV channels, so I never really got exposed to it until I was more of an adult. Like my half-adult self now. But I've tried to catch up more with some of it, just to stay in terms of like cultural relevance, and try to see what's going on with certain things. And I've been lucky enough that Jess is open to watching some stuff with me and trying to like get into that scene, so I don't feel like super just like pushed off to the side of like I can't ever enjoy this style of storytelling in this show. So Lee, do I think Machamp or Snorlax would have the highest total? I would say Snorlax, man. He's just got such a body weight advantage. And I'm pretty sure there's video evidence of Snorlax beating Machamp in a sumo wrestling competition, so just saying, putting that out there. Not to say all sumo wrestlers would be better than powerlifters, but you have that much of a body weight advantage, and he rests hardcore, man. He's always ready to go because he's got all his naps in. He's well rested, ready to perform. Hashtag Snorlax OP. Boy. Oh, man. I'm okay with that being the last set. Oh, snap. Billy found the super chat. Thank you so much, brother. Thanks for all the tips and motivation. Donation hype, Robert. Yes, Billy is the stream king. You, sir, are allowed to say For the remainder of this stream, you are allowed to say the dreaded strap word if you want. It means a lot, brother. Thanks so much. Stop it, Divier. I'm getting better at not crying when this kind of stuff happens, because it means a lot to me. But no, super appreciate that, Billy. That means a lot. Divier, Brock was one horny boy. He was looking for love, man. Scythier, well, obviously he was talking about another kind of weed. Might have been for cooking purposes. Probably. You think, okay, Divier, we were about to succeed. Please show me the video. I can't find it, dude. I feel Snorlax is a wild card. Worry about his squat depth. Well, you can't see his hip crease. But Snorlax is heavy enough that the Wilks formula would always favor him. Because you guys remember, at the very low end of body weight and the very high end of body weight, the Wilks formula breaks. And so the middle weights are always the ones who get hammered. And it doesn't help them nearly as much. So Snorlax is in that range where his Wilks is like over 9,000. Jabix with the, oh my gosh. Thanks for doing these streams. Love them. Thank you, Jabix. That's two. That's two in a row, man. Oh, these super positive donate feels. You guys are awesome. I love doing the streams. And like I said, the donations are incredibly appreciated. Absolutely never expected and never required. I want to keep doing this stuff regardless, but you guys, it means a lot to me that you're finding it worthwhile at least. And so I appreciate it greatly. You guys are awesome. Billy, you're actually heading to the gym now. Enjoy the best of your workout. Thank you. That was actually the last set of the main work. So we've got some rows left, and if you guys still want to keep hanging out, since we did have those two really generous donations, I will go ahead and continue to, normally I'd cut the stream after the main work, but I can do my rows and my rollouts and keep the stream going for another 20 minutes or so. So please, if you guys have more, I like having the feels of the talks and everything. And if you guys have more thoughts and questions and feels, please, we can talk more about Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Pokemon or anime or weightlifting or whatever you guys want to talk about. You want to watch me die from ab rollouts? Man, after the squats and the bench, ab rollouts are like easy sauce. Is that even a thing? Easy sauce? Let me see. Can I... Where are we at? Can you see that? The end of the... Move the... Let me see. I'm trying to adjust things. You also want to see my great bent rows? Oh, they're going to be... That's going to be the struggle bus. By the way, do you guys appreciate the what I go through to make this happen? So this is a GoPro camera mount. And this is a GoPro camera. Oh, this is not a mic stand. And this is a Rock Band USB microphone donated generously from my girlfriend, who said my audio quality was poor. And she's definitely right. So... But you just came to see Ben's abs? Oh no. Divier, YouTube channels you watch besides powerlifting or fitness? I rarely watch powerlifting or fitness YouTube channels anymore. I was way more in the scene way back in the day, before my own channel started dying. Jabux, the attitude is so great, your inspiration to me. Well, thank you very much, brother. I appreciate the kind words. I appreciate the generous donation and the thoughts and the positive feels. It means a lot, man. Divier, I like Video Game Donkey, probably my favorite channel to watch. I wish he uploaded more often, but I don't mind waiting for the quality of his uploads. What else do I watch so many things, man. I spend most of my day where I'm not working is consuming content on YouTube in some fashion. When I'm on my Pokemon Go grind, I watch trainer tips because I think Nick has really solid video quality, and I love his transition shots. If I was a vlogger, I would absolutely try to emulate his style of vlogging, which I'm pretty sure he probably gets it from Casey Neistat. A lot of really, really quality vloggers really use that sort of method. Unique transitions, high quality, crisp video quality with clean edits and with like drone shots. I really appreciate that artistry. I don't know enough about editing to emulate it very well. Plus, my vlogging would be very... I don't go on very many adventures. It's kind of hard to plan going out and doing a whole bunch of things when you're trying to maintain consistent training schedules. I watch a lot of people who do things on YouTube, and I'm like, man, it'd be kind of fun to do that sort of a thing. But I always find myself wondering, like, but I wouldn't be able to train if I was doing that. If I was traveling and going on these trips or doing these things, or it always comes back to when would I be able to get enough food, sleep, and prep work for consistent training. Yeah. Or when people are, Steven Suptic. I was a big SourceFed fan. I like Mike Falzone. When SourceFed fell apart, when they canceled the channel, it was really a bummer for me, SourceFed and SourceFed Nerd. And so when that happened, I started watching the individual SourceFed hosts, and including Steven Suptic. I really like his videos. I think they're funny and well edited. Holy biscuits. What is... Yugi with the also very generous donation. Thank you so much, brother. Thank you. What is DKK? What is that currency? I don't understand. I don't know what it is, but I appreciate it, whatever it is. That's awesome. We've got three different currencies represented tonight, which means that there's people from Danish krone. Well, there we go. Denmark. Awesome. Denmark, home of my favorite League of Legends player, Bjergsen. Soren Bjergsen. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Yugi. All right. Well, now I have to set up the rows so that I can do the rows and you guys can see that. Kanto, what accessory work do you recommend for squats when one has helped you? Honestly, with squats, the biggest thing is practicing and staying consistent with positions, and so anything that's going to get you used to getting into position, holding position, so things like tempo work, pause squats, pin squats, anytime where you're having to control the weight and make sure there's no breakdowns throughout the entire range of motion of the lift, I think those tend to be the most beneficial. And then breaking down individual weaknesses. So if you have a weakness in your quads or in your glutes or in your hamstrings, just targeting those individually. But in terms of variant for the lift, I'd say that controlling your tempo is going to be the number one thing that's going to help you reinforce positive positions, and be intentional about the technique. And the better your technique and your positional integrity is, the more effective squatting you're going to do. So that's my advice there. I'm going to set up the rows now. And honestly, we don't have a whole lot of them, so make sure you guys are asking your questions, because I'm going to run out of things to do here, and I want to keep the stream going as long as you guys are hanging out, but at the same time, it is 2:30 in the morning, and so once I'm done with these, I'm going to need to get ready to head to bed. So please continue asking questions, and I'll get to them as quickly as I'm able. So these are supposed to be, I'll be right back. I left my ab wheel inside. wheel acquired. Basangas. Denmark. What accessory word? Have to go, Ben. Thanks for answering all my questions regarding lifting and Pokemon. Lucky it was my day off so I could see you. Well, I feel very lucky myself. Thank you so much, man. Appreciate it. Robert, left my ab wheel outside. Not outside, I left it inside. I left it in the house. I did my my ab wheels last week. Yeah, Chester stole him, man. He was trying to get swole. I have the world's most bulky swole cat. Chester's like 17 pounds. He's a good boy. He's a good boy, though. Good boy. Oh, all right. So, let me see. Are you guys gonna be able to see that? You can see that. Look at this. You see the kind of the. There is a little bit of a divot in the floor, but it evens out where my feet would go. So we make it work. This out of the way. So the way I do my rows for this particular day is I call them rack rows, where I'm going to go and I reset on the rack each rep. I use the bench. I keep it in between my knees so that I'm keeping isometric hold with my adductors to keep my pelvis aligned. So what I'm going to go through is I'm going to set myself, pelvis in line, neutral spine, focusing on keeping that tension, rack in between. I'm going to set my scapulas and set my shoulders and my lats, pull into my midsection, usually trying to aim for maybe just below, between the sternum and my navel, and then release, and then reset and go each time. It's going to help you work on your upper back tension, keeping that isometric hold with your spinal neutrality, and making sure, because a lot of people forget about their lower body being engaged when they're doing their rows. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to superset that, hopefully, if I don't die, with my ab wheel rollouts. So I don't think I've done these on stream ever, so that'll be an adventure to do together. Chester has been eating very well, usually because the stream donations have been so kind. So you guys directly fund my cat's high indulgence diet, I think. Those would be a lot easier if I hadn't done all those squats and bench first. Goodness gracious. That form. Oh man. You do not need a lot of weight to make those effective, by the way. If you do them well and you focus on positions and activation in the right areas, you can use just a little bit. Javix, will you deserve the donations? I have no idea why more people aren't watching. Well, I appreciate that sentiment. This isn't everybody's cup of tea. I know that. This is a long form. A lot of people don't have the time, I think, to commit to 3 or 4 hours of hanging out. But I'm here. I'm here at least twice a week. It'll be 3 times this week. I guess you guys, if you enjoy this, you got lucky that I got so sick yesterday I had to push everything back. So, Robert, I know for America it's like between 2 and 5 a.m. right now. Most people are asleep. That is also a thing. It is 2:40 in the morning for me. So, I have a tendency to only really get involvement from my international friends on these weekday ones. So, that ab wheel form is literally goals. You just have to commit to trying to maintain your positions and not hunching, and just be aware of your body. Divya, I do not get shoulder irritation from my ab wheel rollouts because I make sure that I'm setting my pectoral girdle and I'm setting my upper back tension as I go, and not just bleh. This is all controlled. This is all intentionally locked into its position, and so I'm able to go through, but I never relax. So, Sam, what do you do for fun besides lifting? Well, I'm in an a cappella group. We perform. We have an album, so I sing. That's pretty fun. My girlfriend and I go play Pokemon Go together and go Pokemon hunting. I watch a lot of YouTube videos. I enjoy helping other people. I coach lifting, and I think that's pretty fun, either online or in person. And yeah, I just enjoy the things I enjoy. I nerd out on some Pokemon. I nerd out on TV shows and watch competitive League of Legends and Call of Duty at a level that is probably surprising to most people, especially for someone who doesn't actually play those games anymore. So that's pretty much what I do for fun. Amiro, can you teach me how to proper breathe during deadlifts without a belt? It should be pretty similar to how you would breathe with a belt. Lock in your pelvis, first of all, before you start the breathing. I like the cue boys up. That's something my friend Adam gave me, where you lock in that lower pelvic wall with your boys up without letting your lower abdominal wall protrude, and then breathe in a way that's going to expand from the diaphragm. So think like you're trying to fill up a balloon from down here. And then lock everything in without this coming up. So it's called diaphragmatic breathing. Breathing from down here while keeping that lower abdominal wall engaged. So this is all up, this is all engaged. It's all locked in. It's not going anywhere. Belted or not, that's going to keep your core as consistent as possible. And then the other thing is making sure that your lats are engaged, right? Because your lats are also a spinal stabilizer. So imagine if you're going to pull something in, pull in, and then down. That combined with that, you're not moving. You're from your throat down to your little boy parts are not going anywhere. And once you've had that established, that torso integrity, your spinal neutrality should be locked in. And you have to work on it. That's hard to do. That's not an easy thing. You have to work on your upper back. You have to work on your core. And I think someone else said, and with some characters that I can't read, I'm sorry. But what ab works do you recommend for core? Hanging leg raises or ab wheel rollouts? The reason being, whenever you're working on your core, I think it's important to lock all this in, not to train yourself to collapse it, but to train yourself to have a neutral core and to extend your body without losing this tension. So breaking at the hip or breaking at the shoulder while keeping your core tight and keeping yourself engaged. I think is going to build the kind of core strength that is necessary to improve your deadlift, your squat, and your bench press. Sithi. Ben, I've been struggling with lower back pain from squats recently. Never had an issue before. It's kind of weird. Got any tips? If it's your low back pain, I would say look into your glute mobility, because a lot of times when people are having low back pain, they're getting to the bottom of the lift and they're losing that spinal neutrality because their glutes are tight, and you're not able to hold a neutral spine when you get to the bottom and that butt wink happens. And so the way to fix that is glute mobility, focusing with a neutral spine and increasing your mobile range of effectiveness through that glute so that you can hold that neutral spine with a deeper hip position. So I made a video on this. It's probably my second to last coaching tips video, where I talk about glute and hip mobility and why most people are doing it incorrectly. And I think that a lot of people get a lot of lower back loading from having tight glutes and hips when they're squatting. So check that video out. Do the exercise. It's basically just sitting with a neutral spine, not letting yourself stretch your glute by bending over. Neutral spine, getting this kind of glute movement in while holding that neutral spine with both legs, and then the opposite of getting that hip mobility in, and you will find yourself maybe getting the bottom of the squat with less loss of that lower back neutral spine. You may find that puts less load on the spine itself. So hopefully that gives you some assistance in that particular issue. Robert, you're getting way better at it. Your weight is going down. Less fat is making so many things easier for me. Awesome. See, I did switch to high bar, so that might be a factor. I thought high bar would be less straining on my lower back, though. Yes and no. So there is the common misconception that high bar is not as tough on your lower back. The difference is that you can't involve your lower back as much because it becomes a bigger limiting factor. So if I'm doing a low bar squat, my low back is engaged in the movement, but my center of gravity is lower. And so the low back isn't getting taxed as much because the lever from your shoulders to your low back is shorter. If it's up here, higher on the back, there's more chances of having a back segmentation, because if you get pitched forward at all, if you lose your positioning, like if it's perfect and you go straight up and down and you never lean forward with your high bar squat, your back isn't getting taxed as much. But if you lose it forward at all, that lower back is going to start screaming, because you're in a much less ideal position to load it safely, and to it's not in as strong as a leverage position. And so the high bar squat actually, just like a front squat, it makes the lower back more of a limiting factor, because any kind of forward lean is going to tax that way more than if that lever angle was shorter by having the lower center of gravity. So that's also a thing. Your bracing is probably not the best, though. Also, if you're losing your bracing, you're going to have that spinal segmentation here in the thoracic spine. That's going to load that lower back even more, and it continue to push you over, especially if you combine that with tight glutes. That's why your low back's probably getting tight. Yeah, you watched the video. I've been doing those stretches. I'm just so bad at doing this stuff outside the gym. I'll get it together. Honestly, that's what it is. Biggest piece of advice, friends, is to recognize that the things you do outside the gym that directly improve and impact the things that you're doing inside the gym. The more work you do, the more intentionality you put into the stuff that isn't the fun part, that isn't the part that everyone knows that you're supposed to do, it allows you to be more effective in the time you spend in here. You know, my squats feel better when I've prepped adequately, when I do my mobility work, when I get enough sleep, when I eat right, when I'm hydrated, when I have all that other stuff together. So just make sure that you're aware of that, and you understand how much that stuff can be beneficial for this, and it makes it a lot easier to do. So yeah, doing high bar is probably it. I have a tendency to lean forward, and I definitely feel my back bracing is much better on low bar. It's not so much that it's just better, it's more that it's just ideal for that musculature to be engaged and to work. So don't feel bad about it. I have the same problem when I do high bar squats. It basically turns into really, really awkward low back exercise for me. So I need to do another set of these. This is the least quote unquote challenging part of my workout, and I'm taking even longer. Holy awkward tricep pump, Batman. Oh. High bar squats just really feel loose for me. I think doing high bar with ridiculously long femurs is difficult. Agreed. Definitely agreed. You're 6'3" with upper body of a 5'9" person, legs of a 6'5" person. I'm 5'9" and 3/4 with similarly set up leverages. Woo! Jabex. I started my cut around 2 weeks ago and currently following Candida's linear program. I should not be breathing this hard after rows and ab rollouts. Thoughts on doing heavy squats and deadlifts on the same day? Went on a cut. Feel like I can't progress on the deadlift after heavy squats. Went on a cut. To be honest, heavy is a relative term, right? And so as long as you're feeling the work, your body doesn't know what weight's on the bar. If you're tired, a lighter weight can feel heavier. So when you go from being challenged and fatigued and having a lot of volume kind of going through your system and you're working through a lot of volume, once you back that off and you're able to perform, you don't have to have been working in a super high range in terms of your relative max to see that work kind of transmutate into positive progress. I always say that's one of the benefits of submaximal lifting when it comes to especially the volume work. You get a similar kind of work from a lighter weight where it can still be beneficial because your body doesn't know what's on the bar. It just knows if it's working hard and pushing as hard as it can or if it's not doing that. And so don't worry so much about the weight on the bar and how progress feels when you're in the middle of a training block. If the program you're on is sound and is consistently producing progress, then trust that process and then reevaluate after you're done with that prep. But still be aware if you're getting those signals from your body of something's just blatantly off and you can tell, maybe it's time to adjust. But once you start a particular path, make sure you commit to seeing it through so that you can be objective in your analysis after the fact. Because you don't always have to do the right thing for it to be a beneficial experience. Sometimes you can do the wrong thing for you, and it might be right for 15 other people, and it might be the wrong thing for you, but you can't know that until you get to the end of it. Unless something terrible goes wrong in the middle, you get to the end of it, then you can look back and be honest and self-reflective, use your critical thinking, and decide whether or not it was the right thing for you and try to figure out why it went right or why it went wrong or what the positives and negatives were. What can you learn from that experience? But it's really difficult to be able to do that if you don't see a plan through to completion, because you might be in the phase of the work that's supposed to be a little too hard. A lot of programming has a period of time where where you're intentionally overreached a bit, and the volume or the intensity or the frequency is just a little bit intentionally out of your range where you're able to fully recover from training session to training session. And those are the times where people say to trust the process. It's easy to trust the process when you feel great. It's easy to trust the process in a program that lets you hit an AMRAP every week. But a lot of things, the more boring yet usually more effective programs, tend to encourage a more patient mental approach because it's necessary. So use it as as a chance to commit to something fully, and then when you're done with it, figure out what you could learn from it or what the benefits were, and then it lets you make better decisions in the future. Where if you kind of pull out early because you're not you're nervous to commit, you'll never know whether or not it was effective. So that's my advice for that. And don't worry about your spelling, man. I understand. Sithi, also, while we're at it, Ben, which stretches do you recommend to get in better positions for conventional deadlift? I've tried all kinds of stuff, just never able to get in a good position. You and I may have very similar builds, my friend. Honestly, I think one of the biggest problems with people getting into ideal conventional deadlift positions is that people try to set their hips too low, and they're just not able to because their femurs are too long and it puts their knees too far over the bar. Alan Thrall made a very good video, maybe series, 2 videos in a row, about the 5-step setup for deadlifting, and I've been trying that for my own conventional deads because it's definitely an unnatural movement for me. My conventional is strong, but it's bad, and so I've been working on improving the consistency of that. Most of the time, I encourage people to take the weight off the bar. My best progress with the conventional deadlift has been this last training block because we started way too light and kept the progression very, very, very slow with a slightly higher hip position, focusing on that spinal neutrality and focusing on all that bracing with the higher hip position has allowed me to get more consistency in my setup. And then again, focusing on the hip and glute stretches that I talked about in those videos. And then usually it's thoracic mobility. Usually thoracic mobility through your mid-spine is an issue. So maybe taking a lacrosse ball on one end of the spine, laying down on the ground, doing passes like this, and trying to break up some of those from your erectors all the way up through your traps. If you can open up some of that freedom of movement up there, it might allow you to not feel so compressed in your upper back. So, oh, you had more. So hard to get in position with your long legs, so I always end up with lower back pain. So now I just end up quitting deadlifting while I'm working on my mobility. Figured it wasn't worth risking my back. Yeah, if you can't get into a good position, my other advice, again, lower the weight. Lower the weight to something that's just so silly that you can't possibly hurt yourself. And focus on building good positions from there until it is so easy with consistent position where you have to add weight. Treat it like an accessory while you're learning that and while you're working on your mobility. It doesn't mean you have to completely cut it cold turkey. It just means that maybe you should start from an earlier starting point. That was one of the biggest issues I had with my conventional, where I could never build it because I always felt like I needed to feel like I was working, where maybe it's just work to focus on hitting perfect positions, but all you can handle is less than whatever that weight was. So I'm hitting tomorrow's session, I'll be hitting something like 535 for a 5x5, which a few months ago, that may have been a fair amount to ask of myself in good position, because anything over 405, I could work up to 600 pounds. 405 to 600 pounds all look the same, bad. But now they're starting to be more consistent because I started this last training block down super low, and we've been slowly increasing the weight as I've been able to deal with it. So now 535 for a 5x5 without a belt doesn't feel like I'm nervous about it, like I may have been a few blocks ago. So I just can't do sumos because I get insane hip pain. Gotta work on that mobility, man. Mobility it saves the body. Javik seems legit. Last week you did. This week you tried 95 times 6 times 3 squats, 110 times 6 times 3 deadlift. I tried 97.5 squats. Only could do one set. The next set I could only get 3 until I failed. If you're missing reps, you may need to adjust the programming a little bit. You shouldn't be missing reps in training. I don't think Johnny's program is designed to have failure in it. So remember, quality reps and making sure that you're enforcing good motor patterns and good positions and habits and positioning. I said that twice. It doesn't matter. It's that important. You need to say it twice. It should be the goal for most powerlifting programs. Fatigue management and working hard and getting that work in is important, but if you're training with bad positions or you're failing positions, not able to maintain them, then the weight needs to come off the bar, because hitting good quality reps is going to be beneficial more in the long run. Remember, long-term consistency over short-term intensity every time. Del U, I have to take ab working for real. Core is my biggest weak point in my limits, and limits my back squat too bad. I can't do ab wheels due to SI joint injury. Hope planks will help. Can you do hanging leg raises? That is my backup, or that is my next suggestion. Actually, Del U, I will set up how I do them, and I'll show you and see if that can help. Tell me if this, you're going to have to tell me if this would affect your SI pain. So, setting up something to keep your hips pointed forward. And if that's too much, the knees can be bent. Whew. Whew. Already feeling all that other work. The idea there is that you're in extended position, not allowing the hips to collapse, but having the hips extended and working on that core being stable while you're moving yourself through that range of motion. Do you think that's possible, or do you think that's gonna mess with your SI joint injury? Because I can't think right now if that would cause the same issues, but that's the other thing I would suggest. Probably starting with the bent knee, because the straight leg version is way more intense, because your center of gravity, or the weight's center of gravity, is further away, and you're loading that lever a lot more. I should have started with the knees up version first. Oh, Amiro, use hook grip during your deadlift. Do I need to squeeze my lat? Imagine like you try to bend the bar. Think of it like you're pulling a band that's at eye level. Pull a band and bring it there like that. I've been demonstrating this too, so I might as well. I need to make videos on a couple of these things, because it'd be a lot easier to point you guys to a video instead of trying to set it up each stream, but we'll do it anyway, because I care about you guys. So, setting this up. So, band, eye level, engage the scapula, pull, engage the lats. You'll feel that tension all the way through here. Romanian, keeping the band close to your thighs the whole time. You're going to feel that engaging those lats. that's engaging the lats as a spinal stabilizer, keeping the weight from drifting away. If you can try that and get that activation going, then when you move on to the deadlift, you may feel it being beneficial. So hopefully that helps. Oh man, you guys are asking a whole lot of questions. I'm getting real tired now. It's 3 a.m. Javix, I know I can't progress as fast when I'm on a cut. I know I can pull around 110, 120 for 6 for a set of 3. When I do them after heavy squats, I feel like I can only do 100 for a set of 3. Then you know that information, so adjust your expectations for the training session based off of the circumstances. If you can do it fresh, but you're never going to be deadlifting fresh in a meet, right? You're always going to be tired after heavy squats. So maybe one of the things you're supposed to be learning in this is what it feels like to deadlift after squatting heavy, which can be a valuable lesson to learn in training rather than going to a meet and finding out for the first time that your deadlift just dropped 10 kilos without you really knowing why. Sithi says, I think I have a tendency to push the weight on my deadlift because it's the only lift I'm not ridiculously weak at, even though it's the lift I've done by far the least work on. Yep. I know that struggle. I know that pain. Patience will win out, though. If you're pushing the weight on your deadlift in terms of you're trying to progress the weight before your technique has improved enough to support that, then you need to dial the weight back if you want to continue doing it for the long term and get to your highest potential ability. You can't rush this process. People will try to, and you try to optimize it. You can try to get the most progress possible, which is great. But most people will end up running themselves into the ground because you can't rush. You cannot out-train your body's adaptive response time frame. You need time to recover, and you need time to adapt to heavier weights and have your body do the system of making the adaptations to continue progressing. So you want to push as fast as you can safely, but as soon as you beat that turnover time, you're going to have a negative response of getting injured and taking twice as long to work back up to where you were. This is a patient man's game for sure, or patient woman's game. Patient person's game. Random name 101. I injured my back doing deadlifts recently, never had that problem, but for me it was caused by tight hamstrings. If you have tension or something that's bound up in one area that's causing you to lose a good technical position setup in another area, that's absolutely the case for a lot of people. Usually it's not the area that gets hurt, it's usually something else that is a contributing factor down the line throughout. So, Chavix, is that okay, or should I do light deadlifts? I've been doing heavy squats, and next time I do legs, do heavy deadlifts first so I don't burn all the energy and do lighter squats after it. Thoughts? Honestly, I think that your deadlift should follow your squats, and you just need to adjust your expectations on what your deadlift is. If your deadlift is significantly affected by having squatted first, then you need to make sure that you have that understanding and that you have that, because your deadlift in a meet will always be after squatting, so you need to get used to that, and you need to make sure that you don't. I've gotten in this issue before. I've seen a lot of other people do it too, where they will think that their deadlift is higher than it is because they can do it fresh in its own training session that had 2 rest days before it and didn't have a squat anywhere near there. But in a competitive setting, your deadlift is only what you can do after you've already done 3 potentially maximal effort squats. So I think you should actually structure your training around that and plan for it. And so it's almost better to not train your deadlift fresh so that you have an inflated sense of what your capability is. Unless you're planning on doing a deadlift only meet, or if you're trying to lift with specifically the purpose of having the highest training deadlift max that you can. But if you're a competitive powerlifter, you should try to get the biggest total that you can, which means going into the meet with a realistic understanding of what you're capable of deadlifting after you've squatted heavy. So, which sucks to feel, because deadlift is my favorite lift for sure. It's the one that I am the most naturally kind of have tendencies of excelling at, and it's the last one, so I'm always going to be tired when I do it. But that's just the nature of things. Delia, you can probably do that, but you're afraid your hip flexors will do too much and will contribute the APT. Okay. In that case, you might, the planks hopefully will work focusing on your bracing and your breathing in terms of practicing the diaphragmatic breathing and things like that may help, because a lot of that style of breathing where you're doing the boys up cue, keeping your low abdominals engaged and focusing on that diaphragmatic breathing may assist you in keeping a braced position that will also stabilize the pelvis, which may take a little bit of pressure off of that SI injury. But in terms of directly targeting the core, that's something to consider. Maybe doing something like some band work. Something like this, where you're focusing on that lat kind of thing, engaging the core, going through this movement, because you still get some ab activation through here with the same kind of idea, where I'm my core is in an extended position, I'm not collapsing, I'm focusing on that neutrality. That kind of a movement can engage some of those, and it doesn't have the same issue of the hip flexors taking all the lift. So maybe that's an approach you can try and take. I wish I had a more specific answer or more time to work with you on that, but those are my that's the approach I would take. Jabix, well, I'm ending the questions here then. Looking forward to the next stream. Have a good night. Well, thank you, Jabix. Thank you for the question. I didn't mean to dissuade the question asking. It's just I'm winding down, and I'm afraid that my answers are going to start becoming less helpful and more rambling, just because I'm starting to get a little bit tired, and I think I'm going to do one more set of my little superset, and then we'll probably shut it down here. I may shut down the stream a little bit before that, just so I can finish and head to bed after we clear out these last group of questions. So if you guys have questions, please ask the last round of questions right here, and we're going to finish out the stream. It's been about 4 hours. So, Sithi, thank you so much for taking the time to answer my questions. It really helps a lot. The streaming stuff is really cool. I love doing it, so I appreciate you guys hanging out. It means a lot to me that you guys are spending some time wanting to chill. My plan right now, the next stream will probably be tomorrow, because it was supposed to be today. The deadlift workout was supposed to be today, and I don't normally stream my squat workouts because they're awful, and I have so much of a hard time breathing in between, and deadlifts are usually a lot easier. But yeah, tomorrow, and then Saturday is the other stream date. So normally it's Tuesdays and Saturdays. This week, tonight is Tuesday. I will have an uploaded video tomorrow, and then probably stream tomorrow evening. I'd like to stream earlier, but I know myself, and if it's 3 a.m. right now and I haven't finished this workout, being able to have a turnover to do a conventional deadlift with a whole bunch of benching, probably going to be a later afternoon/evening stream at the earliest. And then Saturday, because I'm not going to stream my next squat workout probably, but Saturday will be the next deadlift stream after tomorrow. Gonna see what I mean with the rambling? I said the same thing 6 times and it didn't get any more cogent. Imro, how to proper form of stiff leg deadlifts because I don't feel tension in my hamstrings when I'm doing it. Make sure you're hinging at the hip, not just lowering down. The hinge of the hip. So imagine someone's got a hold of your tailbone and you're holding the bar there, and someone's just pulling your tailbone on a string like that, and that's what's letting the bar kind of come down with a slight bend in the knee, and then using the glutes to pull it back up. That should engage your glutes and your hamstrings. If not, you might be flexing at the spine too much. Emerald, all right, thank you, Ben, for sharing the session. Love it, man. I love it too. I love doing this stuff. I really hope to be able to do it a little bit earlier next time so I'm more awake. Let's all fingers crossed that I don't get sick again, because that did kind of throw things off. Though who am I kidding? My sessions have been pretty consistently late. But this time, I feel like the reason was pretty justifiable with being so sick yesterday I couldn't walk. Sithi, does squats feeling really weird and uncomfortable ever end? We live in a sport of discomfort. Squatting a heavy weight will never stop feeling uncomfortable, but you get better at dealing with the discomfort. That's the case for all of powerlifting. Same with the hook grip, same with the deadlift, same with anything. You're putting yourself in a position that is intentionally uncomfortable, and it doesn't stop being uncomfortable because you're always going, maybe the weights you're handling now will not feel uncomfortable in the future, but down the line, you're going to look back on these weights and these loadings and these expectations as not even worth it. There'll be a warm-up. So that's what I would say to that. even if that was kind of a trolley joke comment. I have a real answer for it because I think that's true. Robert, last question. Why do you think you lift so late? Why not earlier? Is it just too busy? I have a tendency to justify a lot of other things that are. I mean, I can make the argument that they're important and take time. Lifting usually gets pushed back, not because it's less important, but because it's the one thing that I know for sure I will always make sure that I do. And so I'm never worried that if I push it back far enough that I'm not going to get the session in, because I will always get the session in. You guys are witnessing what happens with, if it's 11 o'clock, I won't, because I'm fortunate enough to have a home gym where I can't say, well, the gym's not open, I can't make it happen. I know I can make it happen. And so if I had to do a whole bunch of other stuff, all the adult life things that I need to do, answering emails, answering calls, doing other errands and stuff, I know that I can always come and do the session. And I will always do the session, with the like yesterday was a super exception. First time where I've had a workout planned and didn't plan to adjust my schedule in advance and just was not able to train because I physically could not walk. I can't express to you guys how pitiful I was yesterday. It was really sad. But that's why the session gets pushed back, because I know that I can still do it even when I'm tired or even if it's not ideal. Where if it was something like editing a video or answering an email, I'm way more likely to say, I'm so beat, I'll just do it tomorrow, which is not the case with lifting. So I wouldn't recommend it. It's not necessarily because I'm too busy, because I could structure my day better and be better organized. I just have to work on that. John just woke up for work and here has been lifting still. Well, we're talking now. We stopped lifting a little while ago, but yes, we're still live streaming at least. Cynthia, just the movement feels unnatural for me. Bench and deads obviously feel heavy and uncomfortable, but the movement itself feels natural. Yeah, I mean, technically benching should be the least natural movement you do, because nowhere else in nature you're going to lay down on something, pretend to squish yourself, and then unsquish yourself with just your arms. But if that's how you feel, then that's how you feel. You just have to continue to practice it until you get used to the movement pattern and get less bad at it. I constantly go through that feeling myself. Squats are constantly uncomfortable. Even when I get better at them, even when I'm good at them for a while, they don't feel great all the time. But it's the nature of the beast. It's what we're choosing to pursue and try to work on. So it's always a choice. Same reason that I can't really complain about this, because it's always a choice. John, how long do you take off from lifting after a meet? I don't really. My coaches don't send me programming for a week, so I have a week to kind of mess around. After the Arnold, I did 2 meets. I competed on Friday, took Saturday off, competed on Sunday. Couldn't get back home until Thursday. When I got back home on Thursday, I did an 800-pound deadlift. Took Friday off. Saturday, I did the 1,700-pound total in under a minute. Took Sunday off, started regular training again on Monday. So I don't usually plan a whole lot of time in between. I don't go crazy right after a meet, but I don't think anyone should ever have forced time off after a meet, especially if your training is generally relatively high frequency or high volume. You condition yourself to handle certain things. I usually don't take a whole bunch of days off before a meet. I usually will take maybe 1 or 2 training days off after having tapered down, because I usually feel good during the taper. I usually feel pretty good going into a meet, and then afterwards I'm primed to lift some heavy weights. So I don't usually feel like I need to take a lot. But any last questions? Gonna give it another like 30 seconds, answer some questions, and then I'm gonna sign off here. Because even though the stream on this is the second half of the VOD, only says 2 hours. We started the other stream before the internet dropped after an hour and a half of squatting, so we're close to 4 hours in here. But yeah, if no one else has any questions, I'll let the delay catch up. Good night, Ben Robert. Oh, thank you, Robert. Thank you for coming and hanging out again. You consistent man, you. Whew. Divier by Ben. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for the time and attention you guys are given. Also, I know most of these guys I know Billy and Yugi headed out, but to Billy, Javix, and Yugi, thank you so much for the donations tonight, guys. It means a lot to me. I don't know what to say. Good morning, good night, good day to you, sir. Good day, night to you, sir. We have questions. We just want you to go sleep. Well, you guys can tune back in tomorrow or Saturday if you guys are able to catch those streams. Or as always, in any of the normal videos, leave questions in the comments, and I'll try my best to get back to those. So this is the easiest format because it's like real time, so you can have clarifications and stuff. But definitely gonna get some naps. Got to get the naps in, boys and girls. So thank you guys so much for hanging out with me tonight. Thank you to everybody who spent some of their time and evening helping me get through the work that I had. It means a lot to me. And I will have a fresh upload for you guys tomorrow, as well as a stream. Who knows when it's going to happen, but it should happen tomorrow. Have a good night. Thanks for the stream. Also, thank you for the advice. Thank you for the helpful advice. You're very welcome, sir. Thank you guys very much. Wherever you're at in the world, I hope you're having a good night, day, evening, wherever it is, whatever it is. I hope it's a good one. And I will talk to you all very, very soon. Thank you. Goodbye.